In the gentle heart of Windsor's home park stands a four-bedroom cottage with a story far larger than its square footage. Frogmore Cottage, charming, unpretentious and profoundly symbolic, has once again found its way into the royal spotlight. A recent media stir reveals that Buckingham Palace will conduct intensive security evaluations before anyone is allowed access to this quiet residence. Some may see this as due diligence, but others? They see it as yet another chapter in a tale laced with contradictions, especially when it comes to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Today, we're taking a deeper look. What does Frogmore Cottage really represent? Why is its vacancy a subject of public scrutiny? And most importantly, what does this tell us about the evolving legacy of Harry and Meghan? Let's unravel this together, because as always, this story is about far more than bricks and mortar. Frogmore Cottage wasn't just assigned to Harry and Meghan, it was chosen by them. In 2018, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex were offered this modest yet historic residence. And unlike some other royals who might have balked at its simplicity, they saw potential. They saw peace, they saw privacy. But most of all, they saw a home. And so they poured themselves into its restoration, not to indulge in luxury, but to make it livable for a growing family. Sustainability, safety and calm, those were the priorities. When reports surfaced about the refurbishment cost, a public storm followed. Yet, what was often buried in the headlines was this: Harry and Meghan reimbursed the sovereign grant in full. Every last penny they paid their way, and still it wasn't enough. Now Buckingham Palace insists any potential resident of Frogmore must pass a thorough security review. Ironically, the couple who once lived there were denied the very security they now deem so essential for the cottage's future inhabitants. Prince Harry is still embroiled in a legal fight with the UK government over the right to police protection when visiting his homeland. He's offered to pay for it. He's highlighted threats verified by professionals. Still, he is refused. Let that sink in. A prince by birth, son of a future king, husband and father deemed unworthy of protection, even as his former home is treated like Fort Knox. Why? Because he chose peace over palace politics. In January 2020, Meghan and Harry stepped back from royal duties, a move that tabloids described as betrayal. But was it? Or was it a decision grounded in self-preservation? Frogmore Cottage became a casualty of that decision. The couple's license to reside there was allowed to expire in 2022, after they'd already made a life in California. But let's be clear, this wasn't abandonment, it was evolution. Harry and Meghan did not walk away from service. They walked away from a system that demanded silence in the face of suffering. They walked away from a machine that exploited them, yet denied them protection. And for that, they were punished not with a loss of wealth or platform, but with relentless public distortion. Let's pause and consider something baffling. In March 2023, Prince Andrew reportedly declined an offer to move into Frogmore Cottage. His reason? It wasn't grand enough. Yes, the same Prince Andrew facing mounting scrutiny for his associations and costly lifestyle was apparently too noble for the same home that sheltered Meghan and Harry. And yet, the narrative in the press painted Meghan and Harry as the spoiled ones. This contradiction reveals something deeper. In the eyes of the establishment, titles mean more than values. Status trumps sincerity, and Meghan, an accomplished biracial American woman who married into the monarchy, brought global attention to its relevance and dared to speak up well. She was never meant to fit in. And now comes the commercial angle. Property experts estimate that Frogmore Cottage could command monthly rent exceeding £30,000 due to its prime location and royal heritage. That's almost £400,000 a year. But let's not pretend this is purely financial. Frogmore's value isn't just in prestige, it's in politics, because if Harry and Meghan had stayed, that money wouldn't matter. Their presence was the problem, their independence, their transparency, their refusal to play the game. And now the cottage stands empty, a hollow shell of what could have been a beacon for a modern monarchy. Frogmore was never just a house, it was a metaphor, for reform, for balance, for possibility. It was the quiet cottage that challenged the noisy institution, a modest retreat that made space for honest conversation, love and healing. And now it's a symbol of what was lost not because of Harry and Meghan's actions, but because of the Crown's refusal to adapt. The royals could have embraced this couple as pioneers, as modernizers, as ambassadors to a younger, more diverse generation. Instead, they chose preservation over progress. Despite the noise, millions of people around the world saw the truth. They saw the grace Meghan carried under pressure, the accountability Harry showed as a father and husband. They wrote letters. They rallied online. They donated to causes in honour of Archie and Lilibet's birthdays. They defended the Sussexes not because they were perfect, but because they were human. And in a monarchy that sometimes forgets the human element, that made all the difference. Frogmore Cottage may be closed, but the connection between Meghan and Harry and their global community, that's only grown stronger. So what now? Harry and Meghan continue their work through Archewell, advocating for mental health, supporting military families, elevating women's voices and telling inclusive stories. They've launched docuseries, podcasts, children's books. They've continued their philanthropy without fanfare, without palace PR machines, and without royal resources. Because royalty is not about where you live, it's about how you live. They may no longer reside at Frogmore Cottage, but they've built something far more enduring, a purpose-driven life. If the palace is listening, and they often are, there's a lesson to learn here. Power that is hoarded becomes brittle, but power that is shared becomes lasting. Frogmore's story is a mirror. It reflects not just on Harry and Meghan, but on the monarchy's capacity to change or refusal to. Had the Crown embraced these two trailblazers, what might have been different? Could the Sussexes have been the bridge between tradition and tomorrow? What we know is this: Meghan and Harry didn't lose anything. They left with integrity. They left with each other, and they left with millions of supporters who saw them for what they truly are: courageous, principled, and visionary. Frogmore Cottage may belong to the Crown, but their legacy belongs to the people. And in that legacy we see not scandal but strength, not exile but evolution, not silence but purpose. As the royals debate what to do with Frogmore Cottage, let us remember, the value of a home is not in the walls, it's in the love that lives there. And for a brief, shining time, it was filled with a love that changed the world. This has been Meghan and Harry Tales. I'm Adrian. And as always, thank you for joining us in looking past the headlines and into the heart. Subscribe for more true tales, royal truths and untold journeys from the world of Meghan and Harry.